Go.
Welcome to the economy segment of the show. Enjoy.
Here we go. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna just jump straight into this because having to reboot and do all this stuff with the damn stream and everything is frustrating. As a matter of fact, before we even go any further, let me make sure that what I have is going to work. Make sure my thing is good. Okay, there, I'm down there at the bottom. We good. All right, so let's get straight into it. So we're going to go to the economy segment of the show. The economy segment of the show, we're picking up where we left off. Was this the third day I'm doing this? So was this 2 days ago? Friday? So Wednesday. So Wednesday we were talking about the USSR basically being a blueprint for the United States, for the takeover for the West. So I had went over to deep detail on Monday, if you look at that stream from a couple of days ago. And that one basically just broke down to show how everything was progressing and what was behind the Bolsheviks revolution. There was a conspiracy theorist about the Bolshevik revolution, which you had a Jewish Bolshevism, which was basically saying that there was a plot with the newish people. The newish people. There was a newish Bolshevism, which was a conspiracy theorist that newish people were the behind the scenes people that were causing the Bolshevik revolution for a furtherance to later on take over the West, which when you look at everything and you kind of put all the pieces together, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it looks true. However, all of the things that lined up to it, I went down and broke down the banker that was funding the Bolsheviks revolution. I found one or two bankers that was funding the Bolsheviks revolution. They were of, newish descent. Then I also found people inside the party. You had different people inside of the party, which you had the, what was it called? They had a something state representative, whatever the group was called before they were called the Bolsheviks. But in that group of people, there were some people of newish descent as well on both sides. You had the Bolsheviks and you had the Mensheviks. Okay, the Bolsheviks were the winner of the congressional, whatever this thing was, party that they had. Let me go find the name of it real quick, so I just won't be saying that because it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. I'm just a little irritated today because I wanted to get this shit over with. Oh, what was this stupid thing called? This thing was called... Oh, no, that's Anna. It was called... I should have it right here. Nope, that's them. All right, here we go. Good Lord, what is this? This is... Oh, okay, I see what this is. Okay, this is... All right, so we're actually on a good trajectory here. So that's actually looking pretty good. So we're good here. But anyway... they had two different parties basically, and in the party, the winners were the Bolsheviks, the losers were the Mensheviks. And if you look inside the Bolsheviks, there were people of newish descent inside the Bolsheviks, like nice and properly put in. And then you had people on the Menshevik side who lost. They were also of newish descent. And there was a timeline that I looked into, the timeline that I had looked into prior to the Bolsheviks revolution. Prior to it, it went from 1727 all the way to 1917. I broke all this down on Wednesday. And it goes into a vivid detail to see what the issue was between the Russians and the newish people. And you would see as you were going all the way through this timeline from 1727 all the way to 1917 that there had been some kind of, thing going on between the two. The politics in the Russian community had a heavy eye on the newish people. Like they had a heavy eye. They had them. They had them with something called like the Pale of Settlement or the Settlement of Pale or something like that, where they were basically focused in on making sure that they only had like a certain geographic area that they could go around to. They couldn't go too far. I mean, they kept a close eye on them. It was like they particularly like made sure that they didn't do too much because whatever the reason was. And you saw them, and then the newish people had pogroms against them, which were like violent acts waged out against them and stuff like that. And in 1897, I believe, they had their first political group that they were able to actually like kind of run some politics and stuff like that within that area or whatever. So there was this program, this government, it was like this government provisional program or whatever that had the newish people set up into a certain way that when they got to the year of 1917, all of the handcuffs that were on the newish people would get abolished. And, when the time came, all ish hit the fan. Like it just went crazy because in 1917, that's when the Red October was is it the Red October? Or is it the October? The October 1917 was when the Bolsheviks came in, and basically, when you dive deep and you look into what this actually was, when you really just dive deep into it, like I said, I was finding things on both sides, and you can't help but just notice that you had people on both sides. Regardless of what side you were on, there was newish people on both sides. You had a banker that was newish that was supporting the Bolsheviks. Then the people who were in the Bolsheviks, some of them were military people, some were media impressed people. They were of newish descent as well. You had the losers, the Mensheviks. Some of those people were newish as well. So there was, that in it at all times. You can never get past that. Now, also, when you dive deeper into it, this is one thing that you have to pay attention to. And this is what I came across right here. Let me see if I can find this for you real quick. So right here, we have something that you just can't ignore. You cannot ignore this. And this is going to be one of the main things right here I want to show you. So right here, you have the history of banking. So the banking in the Soviet Union. All right. Banking is very important. Okay. So banking in the Soviet Union was extremely important because it's going to show you a lot of what is really going on. This is like the crux of everything. Banking is going to be your crux for every single war you ever had. Everyone. I don't care what it is. Banking is the center crux of it all. Even Jesus had a banking question, a tax question, like wages against him. You know what I mean? So this goes deep. So when you look at this right here, it shows right here, it says the notion of a monolithic state financial system had a long standing roots in Russia, where fiat currency had been used for centuries and dominant public banks were established in the 18 and onward. Following disastrous aftermath of the Crimson War, this public banking system had entirely rebuilt expanded private sector in the 1860s, including establishments of a state bank of Russia in 1861, the first private sector commercial bank in 1866. All right. So you go here and you read all this, right? And then on the eve of the Russian communism revolution, Vladimir Lenin held similar views. All right. So this is what you're going to notice. OK, because communism is basically the mob rules, the government rules. You know what I mean? The government dominates. You don't own anything. You don't own anything. You don't learn what you want to learn. You can't speak out. You can't say too much. If you want to get a good understanding of communism, go to China. Look and understand what China is. Look at Cuba. Look at the history of Cuba. People in Cuba live in a communistic society. It's not, the people can't grow. They can't learn much. They can't get out of the bubble that they're in. I've spoken to a lady from Cuba, and she broke it down to me, like how it works and how it was so hard and how poor she was and how they were able to get out of there and come here. And she was just so grateful, but she was very afraid, not say afraid, but worried, because she could see that the U.S. is going in that direction of socialism, communism. She's seen it because she lived it. So she's looking around and she's like, this is crazy. Like, I just don't see how people can't see it. And it's like, it sucks. Nobody's ever lived it, so they can't really understand it. However, banking is going to be at the crux of all of that for sure. So when you go back here, we're going to look right here. You're going to see Vladimir Lenin. He held similar views to the creation of a universal bank that would fulfill the needs for autocratic Russian economy without having to abide by the constraints of the gold standard. So they were trying to move people out of the gold standard and put them under a fiat currency. Okay. So once you get people off the gold standard, that takes them away from God's money, which is shekels, puts them under fiat currency, which is man. Okay, so then Vladimir Lenin, he held those views. So that's one thing you have to think about when you think about the Bolsheviks revolution and any other big situation that goes on, or any other big war that goes on. Because when these things happen, there were two superpowers, United States and Russia, during this time. So you're watching how one of the big superpowers over in the East got taken down. Now, if one superpower got taken down, that means the other one needs to get taken down. But you look at this one and you see, what did they use to take this superpower down, and how did these tie together on them to take what they did, migrate and go over to the West and apply the same strategy over a long period of time. Well, in a later off text, he wrote in October 1917, without big banks, socialism would be impossible. The big banks are the state apparatus, which we need to bring about socialism, and which we take ready-made from capitalism. All right. Now, for those of you who don't know, we're going to do a quick vocabulary study real quick, just to make sure that we know what these words mean. So the definition of apparatus is going to be, apparatus means the technical equipment or machinery needed for a particular activity or purpose, which is going to be right here. All right. Going to get straight to it. All right. Apparatus. So when you hear the word apparatus, just think right here. It's a It is a technical equipment or machinery needed for a particular activity or purpose. So when Vladimir Lenin was talking and he mentioned apparatus, he made it very clear that it is the crux that is needed. Banking is. Where are we at right here? Yes, big banks are the state apparatus. It's what they need in which to bring about socialism, which we take ready-made for capitalism. So one of the big problems that the socialists had was when you look at the violence, when you look at the just all of the hell that was brought about with this revolution and all the stuff that happened, you have to understand that what they were doing was they were getting rid of the capitalist system, a capitalist system in society, and they had to destroy one and bring about the other. There were a lot of terrible things that happened during this time. So people start from 1917 and go to 1991 when it dissolved, but prior to it, you had players behind the scene leading up to set everything up in place to get here. Once it was put in place and got here, there was a lot of bloodshed, a lot of violence that happened from the Bolshevik revolution, and also a lot of Ukrainians. They had something called the Ukrainian Holodomor, if I say that correctly, where like 7 million Ukrainians got unalived in the course of like 1 year from 1932 to 1933. And this is this is like after the Bolsheviks revolution happened. But during the Bolsheviks revolution, the big violent bloodshed that happened during that time was to get rid of all the old ways of thinking, anybody who has a way of thinking. Like when you get rid of that many people, you have to think about what you get rid of. If you if you unalive that many people, think about what you get rid of. You get rid of libraries, memories, old ways of thinking, old ways of teaching, cooking, sewing, just all ways of doing things that you can't pass down. So like that many people being unalive, then when you reteach them, you're going to reteach them in ways of not to be self-sufficient, but to be dependent on a state or a government. So then the government becomes their God. Basically, man becomes your God. You don't have a God no more. And then they turn around and reindoctrinate you and try to teach you who you believe and who you pray to and all that stuff, who you trust and who you worship, what you learn, what you know, what you can, what you cannot do. And you growing up into that seems like a normal thing. And then you have no wherewithal of the past, of previous lifestyles of how to, cook or clean or stuff like that, which people still know how to cook, but you don't have the history from your own people. You know what I mean? Like you don't have history passed down from your people from prior to you or stuff like that. And if you do, it only goes back so far. So they had to just unalive a bunch of people. Now, this one guy had mentioned, he said that whenever socialism and communism takes a country, one thing it does off top, it's just a standard procedure, is 10% of the population must go. They got to get rid of 10% of the population when you bring in socialist or communism. It just has to happen that way because it's part of the machine, because you're getting rid of an ideology of an old system. So you have to bring in a new system. So you have to out with the old, in with the new. That's how you kill off an old mindset, so they have to get rid of a bunch of people, and 10% is a strategic number. And the way I look at it, I'm like, well, 10%, that's an awfully odd number, because in 10%, you tithe 10% according to biblical terms. But then in this case, I guess you can call it, tithe 10% to basically sacrifice or get rid of that many people in order to change over a new structure of civilization. You're trying to restructure a system. So 10% of the population that has to go kind of is like, for that number to be there, it's kind of just weird. But anyway, so back to this bank. So we have right here, he says a single state bank, the biggest bank with the branches in every rural district and every factory, will constitute as much as 9/10 of the socialist apparatus. There will be a countrywide bookkeeping, countrywide accounting, production, or distribution of goods. This will be, so to speak, something in the nature of the skeleton of social society. So Lenin vision, which echoes, he basically was all about implementing and getting in big banks, and he had somebody who was helping him get into big. That was helping him get finance. It was a banker that was helping him get finance. It was probably more than one banker. I think they screwed over like one of them. I know Jacob Schiff or something like that. They screwed him over. But he got upset and started doing Bolshevik stuff along the way. But he was one of the bankers he screwed over, but he still had backings from banks because they were robbing, they were stealing gold, they were doing all this stuff, and they had to go somewhere. So they had to have somebody help clean up all that money and all that stuff that they were doing. So just to know that all of this goes in hand just to implement a socialist communist mindset and regime to change over the system from a capitalist to a socialist. It's very violent. It has to be done in a certain way because you're restructuring the entire system, a whole mindset. And that's where we're headed to in America right now, but let's just keep going. So as we see right here, it says right here, it says the People's Commission of Fair Finance in the mid-20s thus quoted as saying that finance should not exist in a socialist community. Still later, Marxist-Lenin doctrine held in line with Lenin's writings, the socialist state should use finance as an instrument of socialist construction and as one of the most important instruments in carrying out its functions, with banking forming part of a financial system that also includes the fiscal budget framework of the state, social insurance, and budget control of state and collective enterprise. So you hear right here how you're seeing framework of the state, social insurance, and budget control of state and collective enterprise. This is basically just saying the state holds and controls and has its hand on every single thing that you do. You don't have a say so in anything. And one thing that we're seeing right now is we're seeing over there in London or UK. In London, they're dealing with that. They got the digital ID. Now, my humble opinion, the digital ID will be the new form of socialism, of communism, because now they know how to lock it in. You know what I mean? Because back then, 1917 to 1991, the technology wasn't what it is now. And remember that technology is a form of warfare, depending on how you use it. Because back then they had people that control what you see on TV, what you read in newspapers, what you read in anything that you read in magazines and all that stuff. They control the media that way. Now we have social media, which is on your phone, on your tablet, or whatever you look at. Now you can control the narrative of a story, but now it's even getting more dangerous because the narrative of a story can be controlled via artificial intelligence. It can be controlled via anybody, really, like any way, any shape, anyhow. And plus you can reshape the understanding of history, because when you take information out of a book and have to put it into a computer system, you can, fudge it and then spread confusion along the way, where you can have a truth and a lie, and people have to battle over which one. They have to figure out which one is wrong and which one is correct. You just cause confusion and chaos, so nobody even knows what's real and what's true or not. Then you have the school and the college and education, where you're able to drip campaign feminism and socialist ideologies into people over a long period of time. And this stuff takes time, but they have time to burn. So when you look at things, we've seen in the past how they will take their sweet little time to get these points across. And sometimes this stuff happens for so long that you could be my age and you won't even realize that you were born into something until later on. You look back and realize, like, damn, they've been doing this since the 70s and 60s. Because I'm going to show you something right now that's going to kind of bring this to fruition. Because I've seen somebody put this up on their...
I am holding in my hand...
Hold on, sweetie, not yet. Because I've seen somebody talk about this on their channel, and I want to actually try to see if I can find it real quick and bring this up real quick. So let's see. It was a thing about what Muhammad Ali is on a talk show. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is right here. Wow, found it on my first try. Pretty interesting. All right, so we're going to see right here. We're going to listen, and these people are going to talk to Muhammad Ali. So if you know anything about Muhammad Ali, he was a boxer and all that good stuff. I'm not going to go into detail. You should know. This is clearly this is from the 70s. So you can look at this right here and see that this is from the 70s. So this is an old clip. All right, so we can say 70 to the 60s. 70s, late 60s to early mid 70s. So, we're in that area. I'm going to say early 70s. So we'll go early 70s. Now, on this talk show, listen to how they're talking, okay? Listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're talking about. Listen to what it is how they're talking to Muhammad Ali, and listen to what it is that they're speaking about. And you're going to see that what they were talking about way back in the early 70s is still going on till this day, but you can see that they were on this way back when and leading all the way up to now, which, if you pay attention to previously in the Bolsheviks revolution back in the Soviet Union era. Here, I'll show you real quick before we even dive into that. Where is it at? Let's take a look at the Soviet Union real fast to see exactly what they were going through back then. So if we go here, we'll see this. So this is the Soviet Union, okay? So we'll read about the history of the Soviet Union. They say it spanned from 1992 to 1991, as you can see right there. But if you scroll down, all right, we're going to read a few things just to get an idea of what was going on within all of this stuff that happened. So in it, as you can see, way back then, going over there, you had under Lenin, the state made explicit commitments to promote equality of men and women. All right, you can see this was happening to form the Soviet Union in the USSR. This is what one of the things they did. So Lenin, he was the guy that took over and did the Bolsheviks revolution in 1917. So under his rule, he tried to do equality of men and women, socialism, feminism, used feminism ideology to bring in a socialist type of lifestyle. Many early Russian feminists and ordinary Russian working women actively participated in the revolution. They participated, and many were affected by the events of that period and new policies, good and bad. But I'm going to say, when you look at it now, you see like women were pushing for this. Women were pushing for this because it was a benefit from the state that they were giving them to get this off. And what we're seeing now, women were empowered back then to bring about this revolution. You had the women, the LGBTQ, they're all empowering them to bring forth this revolution because the government can get more votes that way. They're attacking things in politics and in the polls to further the agenda on the way they want things to go. Because remember, it's what we just read about. The guy was talking about that the banks, the banking is the crux of socialism. So in order to get the bank what it needs to be under a socialist society where the state or the government dominates everything. Now, how do you bring that in? Well, the best way to do it is to bring in, the ideology, the belief of equality, the belief, the equality for LGBTQ, all of that stuff. You bring all that in and allow people to do whatever they want to do, be who they want to be, level the playing field, make everything equal, empower women, make them stronger, make the man weaker. Is just a part of the tactic that's used to bring in socialism. So it shows right here, beginning in October 1918, Lenin government liberalized divorce and abortion laws, decriminalized homosexuality, and permitted cohabitation, and ushered in a host of reforms. However, without birth control, the new system produced many broken marriages as well as countless out-of-wedlock children. The epidemic of divorces and extreme marital affairs created social hardships when Soviet leaders wanted to consecrate their efforts on growing the economy. Giving women control over their own fertility also led to a precipitous decline in birth rate, which is what we're having now. This is identical to what we're going through today. Identical. It's a 100-year cycle. It's a 100-year cycle. It takes time to do it because remember, Russia was a superpower. So, in the United States, we're a superpower. You take down one superpower, you look and see what you did over there. You just copy it, but you twig it with the times and the technology, and you lock it the second time around. You get it. Giving women control over their fertility. Okay, so by 1936, Stalin reversed it. Russia became the first great power to grant women the right to vote. After heavy casualties of World War I and II, women outnumbered men. This contributed to a larger role women played in Russian society compared to other great powers at the time. So where we're at right now, we're always wondering, we're always thinking to ourselves, like, why is it that every time somebody comes over here to the United States, they get indoctrinated with this feminism crap? Well, I mean, it's by design, it's by plan, it's structured, it's supposed to go this way. It's nothing new. It was already done back then, but now you add in technology, birth control, a hell of a lot of capital and financing, you know what I mean, to get the agenda across. Like it's on steroids. It's on steroids. You can't fight it because you're not fighting your flesh. You're fighting a spirit. You're fighting a system. You know what I mean? You're fighting something that's like that's heavily twigged. You know what I mean? It's been tightened. It's been twigged. It's been, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that go behind this, and people don't realize how deep it goes. But let's continue. So you got the Soviet Union. They repressed homosexuality even during the period when homosexuality was officially legal after the abolition of the Tsar's penal code decriminalizing it. Soviets court attempted to repress non-traditional forms of smexuality, which were widely viewed by Russian revolutionaries as a form of capitalist decadence, despite more liberal views on it. So Maybe we'll see that here too. They might go back and pivot and turn it, which in my humble opinion, what I believe will happen is I think that's going to be the case if things go in the direction how the Islam society is coming in. I believe that when people are like, don't mess with the Zohan who became mayor in New York, his religion, his background, like if they get into power, like you're not going to be doing LGBTQ. They're not going to have homosexuals. So they're going to run that back. They're going to bring that back. They're going to be like, nah, we're going to cut that off. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that funny stuff over here. So I think there's a possibility we could see it get ran back. I really do. I think they could repress it. I think there's a good possibility we could see it get repressed because over there in Minnesota, you have Omar or something. He has the Somalis, but that's still an Islam religion. And then you got Texas, a heavy Islam community. New York, Islam is a governor. So you're seeing it being rolled out. Okay, so you're seeing it happen. So there's a potential chance that stuff could get rolled back at some point in time. So I'm just showing you that the striking similarities of what happened back then to what's going on now. All right, so over a period of time, we'll see it. All right, here we go. So let me see. Where else are we at? What else do we have? What is the religions? The religions, they had a bunch of different religions over in USSR. They even had the Christianity, Islam, Buddhist, and all these different groups over there. I'm sorry, I have to move a little bit faster. Let's see. Where are we at? Okay, here we go right here. That's what I want you to see. It says more than 85. Okay, so where are we at? Okay, so in 1918, the Council of People's Commissioners decreed establishing the Russia USSR as a secular state. Also decreed that teaching of religion in all places where subjects of general instructions are taught is forbidden. Citizens may teach and may be taught religion privately. Among further restrictions, those adopted in 1929, including express prohibition on a range of church activities, including meetings for organized Bible study. All right, so right there, they're cracking down. Both Christian and non-Christian establishments were shut down by the authorities in the 20s and 30s, and by the 40s, as many as 90% of churches, synagogues, and mosques that had been operating in 1917 were closed. 97% in the span of 2 to 3 decades, and the majority of them were demolished or repurposed for state needs with little concern for their historic and cultural value. So you see there, when it comes in, they don't care. It doesn't matter if you're a church, synagogue, or mosque. So what happens is, let's say, for example, right now, we're seeing Islam move in. They're getting funded. They're getting a mosque. They're getting their culture. They're bringing in their whole way of life, their whole way of living. They're getting homes and all that stuff. And right now there's already Christian churches here and there's synagogues here too as well. At some point, which I think is going to happen at some point, because we're going in that direction of a 100-year cycle, that all of that's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. It was just a distraction to keep you fighting and bickering without paying attention to what the real situation is at hand. What is the macro goal of everything? And I'll show you what the macro goal possibly could be. I could be wrong. This is just me connecting dots and thinking outside the box. More than 85,000 Orthodox priests were unalive in 1937 alone. Only 12th of the Russian Orthodox Church priests were left functioning on their parishes by 1941. Okay, in the period between 1927 and 40, the number of Orthodox churches in Russia fell from 29,000 to less than 500, bruh. That is a staggering number in 13 years. Look at that number again. In the period between 1927 and 1940, the number of Orthodox Church in Russia fell from 29,500 to less than 500. Okay? Hopefully you can see that. All right, cool. So we're good. All right, so moving on. The Soviet Union was officially officially a secular state. What is a secular state? It's an independent pertaining to secularity, whereby a state or purports to be officially neutral in matters of religion, supporting neither religion nor irreligion. A secular state claims to treat all its citizens equally regardless of religion, and claims to avoid preferential treatment of a citizen. I can read the rest. But a government-sponsored program of forced conversion to atheism was conducted under the doctrine of state atheism. The government targeted religions based on state interests, and while most organized religions were never outlawed, religious property was confiscated, believers were harassed, and religion was ridiculed while atheism was propagated in schools. Wow. In 1925, the government founded the League of Militant Atheists to intensify the propaganda campaign. So this is not too far after the Bolsheviks Revolution, 1925. That's 8 years after. So they're moving. And this is before Stalin got in. Keep that in mind. Accordingly, although personal expressions of religious faith were not explicitly banned, a strong sense of social stigma was imposed on them by the formal structure and mass media, and it was generally considered unacceptable for members to certain professions to be openly religious. Okay, so while persecution accelerated following Stalin's rise to power, a revival of orthodoxy was fostered by the government during World War II. All right, so as you can see, and the Bolsheviks executed 28 Russians, Orthodox bishops, and 1,200 Russian Orthodox priests. So as you see, like I said last time, this is a crusade that's happening. This is a crusade at the end of the day. This is a straight crusade. Just not even a, I mean, I guess you consider, I mean, because a crusade is a holy war between two religions, but this is a, I mean, if you're an atheist, I would say you're a religion too, because you don't believe in nothing, but you believe in something. Because if you didn't believe in Christianity or anything else, then why the heck would you fight over people who care about a God if you don't care about no God? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like atheist to me is a religion as well. It's just not under the guise of, it's not under the guise of believing in a God. But to me, it would still be a religion. What do you want to say to Lama? Not hold on, front burner. Not right now. I can't do it right now, front burner. I gotta stay focused because my stream went down early and it's been very frustrating for me. Excuse me. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this right here. So with that being said, we're gonna go back to, I wanted you to see how they've been propagating and setting everything up from way back when. So now let's fast forward, because we all know that this went on all the way through all the different rules of different powers. In my first video I did on Wednesday, I went through all of the presidents of the USSR after Stalin died and all the way up till it dissolved. I went through all of them, every single last one, all the way up until 1991. And the last one was, where you at? Let me see, the last guy to rule. He was this gentleman right here. This is the last guy to rule. So he was the last one until it dissolved in 1991. So when all this stuff happened, it dissolved in 1991. Okay? It finally dissolved in 1991. As it dissolved in 1991, on the western side of the world, you have to understand, on the western side of the world, they were already, on the western side of the world, in the United States, okay, they had already implemented this on the east side. This was already going on in the east. So they've already did the Bolsheviks revolution. They did LGBTQ. They did feminists. They did women strong and independent, equal rights, women working, and they did all of that, right? But at the same time, as one is dissolving, they're working on the other superpower on the other side. So that's where I want to go. That's where I want to go back to this video with Muhammad Ali. So let's take a look at this video from the early 70s, and let's take a look at Muhammad Ali dealing with a cast panel of people and listen to how they're talking. So here we go.
Hey, Susie Chaffee had something she wanted to say to Muhammad. What is it?
I'm surprised at you, Muhammad. We were just talking about men and women roles and how men and women can complement each other and end all this fighting, and men and women have different strengths. And you just told me that, and all of a sudden...
He has an image.
He said that is our problem. See, now she's already speaking on equality of men and women. And when she's already like, well, men and women are equal in equality. Well, where did we just hear that at? Where did we hear that men and women are equal in hearing equality? We heard that right here, as you see right here. This is where we heard this at. As you can see, they were doing this over in 1918 over in Russia, you know, taking over Russia and turning Russia into the USSR right here under Lenin. He made explicit commitments to promote equality of men and women. Many early Russian feminists and ordinary Russian working women actively participated in the Russian Revolution, and many more were affected. Lenin's government liberalized divorce and abortion laws in 1918 and decriminalized homosexuality. It said giving women control over their own fertility to a precipitous birth decline in the birth rate. It also states right here, the epidemic of divorces and extramarital affairs created social hardships when the Soviets wanted to consecrate their efforts to grow an economy. And without birth control, the new system produced many broken marriages as well as countless out-of-wedlock children. This is 1918. This is 1918. Okay, this is Lenin doing this in 1918. But then we go back over here and we take a look at Muhammad Ali. Listen to the conversation he's having with women in America in like the early 70s, maybe late 60s. Listen to this conversation.
Let me ask you something. Is not strength the ability to be able to compliment someone, to be positive, to pat on the back, to be given, not hanging on to and showing dominance? I mean, those are all weaknesses, aren't they, Mohammed?
Well, you don't have to show dominance if you know you're in control, you understand?
I can't say a word, I'm sitting next to him.
Yes, Marcia.
You can clearly see you can clearly see the what they're talking about. You can understand and grasp the context of what they're referring to. They're referring to equality, the same thing that they were doing over there in Russia as they were conquering it from being a capitalist state to a socialist state, turning into the USSR. It's the same playbook that they're doing. As one was dissolving, because remember, there were two superpowers. As the USA and Russia were the two superpowers, they went over and conquered one. And as they were conquering one, they slowly took one over. They took one over, took the playbook from one, brought it to the other one. As one started to dissolve and be on a decline, they were over here already working on the West and using this as a tool to use the West as to conquer the West over in the future. All right. And just to prove what I'm saying to you right here, here is the conspiracy theorists of said event. So right here, where is it at? The conspiracy theorists, where they don't want you to believe that this is true, but you can't help but like look at it and see the striking similarities is when you talk about this right here. The Jewish conspiracy theorists of a Jewish Bolshevism. So it says a conspiracy theory that claimed that the Russian Revolution of 1917 was a Jewish plot that the Jews controlled the Soviet Union and international communist movement, often in furtherance of a plan to destroy Western civilization. Now, you look at that and you read that and you're like, okay, that's a conspiracy theorist. That's a lie. But however, you're reading this right here. Lenin was a socialist. Lenin was a communist, along with all the other people that later on took role to participate in the conquering of Russia and turning it into USSR. Lenin's plan was to do what I just read to you right here. His plan was to liberalize divorce, abortion laws, promote equality of men and women. You know, they didn't have birth control back then, so they conquered that when they came over here to the West and all that stuff, right? But then when you listen to what these women are saying over here, when they talk to Muhammad Ali in the early 70s, maybe late 60s, they on some straight feminist shit. But here we go.
Do you feel that women should play this destructive femininity game, which is the title of our book? Should they pretend to be frail and weak and say, oh, you big helpless man?
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Now, I think that everything that God created, anything valuable and worthwhile is hard to attain, or even to see. Now, I think diamonds, you can't get diamonds too easy. You have to dig deep into God's earth, and you have to hunt, and you have to shape them and carve them. And when I take a diamond and I go to bed at night, if I have something precious, I almost can wake up. I know where it is when I lay it down. Before man strikes all, America needs all bad. And everybody's talking about all type of trouble. And to get that all, you have to go to other countries, you have to dig deep. Sometimes you miss and sometimes you get it. Gold, a lot of times you go and you never find it.
Get to the point. Women, are you saying that women
saying that my woman to me is more precious than gold, more precious than oil, more precious than diamonds. And I think she should be at home doing her
Snap
job.
out of it.
She shouldn't be out there.
She said, "Snap out of it, snap out of it." She said she ain't trying to hear that nonsense, Ali. I don't care if you float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. She's like, "Fool, you ain't talking to me." She ain't trying to hear that nonsense. So just listen as they keep talking, and we're gonna go from here and go to another person in the '80s, and then from the '80s we're gonna go to the '90s, and you're gonna see how all of this lines up together.
Now, would she be less precious if she were out playing tennis with you?
I'm not talking tennis players.
Oh, we're not getting personal here.
I'm talking about the ordinary man. I think that he would want his woman to be dressed in a way where when she bend over, the man can't see her underpants or something.
That has nothing to do with it, you see. That's important, because it doesn't matter. You see,
right, fellas?
Right off!
She said, "Right off." You know, like you would say right on. She said right off. Like, bruh, straight disrespect to the champ. She said, "Screw you." Now listen how far this goes. This goes even further. And shout out to CGA for bringing this to attention. But listen to what they talk about. This goes a little bit further into the situation. So listen to this right here. Here we go.
It's not the clothes. It's
Don't
not
like it, you just jump up.
The point is not the way you're dressed. It's what you are inside.
It's not that. Everything that causes a bad idea can be bad. Like, I don't think you should put a dog in a meat house and he's starving and let all the meat hang in there. Don't you eat that meat.
You see, there's no difference. Are you comparing women with dogs?
No, I'm saying
it's nature for women to like men. I don't understand this very.
Are you comparing women like dogs? He's trying to give you an analogy or a metaphor or whatever. He's trying to give you a different understanding as to what he's saying. He's like, look, when you have, he's saying like when a woman has her, you know, when a woman has a camel toe showing and her butt cheeks hanging out and her nipples showing and her areolas, you can see through her see-through clothes. And then you're telling the man like, don't look, don't touch, don't desire. But yet, you know, same thing with a dog. You put meat in front of a dog's face, and the dog wants to eat. That's just what dogs do. Dog just eats. You know what I mean? That's all they care about. They care about eating and stuff like that. So it's like he's saying the same thing. It's like, well, you putting your flesh out in front of me to see, and you're telling me not to desire it, but yet you want me to repress myself. Like, and they just clowning him like, oh, you comparing women to dogs? Like, really? Like, come on. But listen to how they talking. This is the early 70s, late 60s. Listen to how they're talking, and you can see the correlation from Russia and the West during the Bolsheviks to what's going on over here. And these women have no respect for him whatsoever.
It's
points here. Yeah, very.
That she'll take care of herself and come back to you?
No, because I know too many of them that are married that they don't have that. They come around me.
To find someone as beautiful inside as you are that can handle it.
Come on.
It seems to me that either you're very insecure. Anybody who has to speak.
I would say it's really a rate.
Literally called him insecure. The classic talking points of today's society. Men are insecure that a woman can't go out and do whatever. It's the same. It's literally the same thing. It's the same talking points. They're having the same talking points that people argue with today in today's dating and relationships. It's the same thing. It's nothing different. It's the same playbook. Call them insecure. All this stuff is the exact same thing. I'm going to go a little bit more. Then we're going to switch over to the next person. Here we go.
Thing, because the white women and the black women, and the white men and the black men, we have two different problems. See, our problem is getting together with our women and working together for freedom, justice, and equality, and respecting one another and respecting our women. See, so our women today want to be with the man where she's been away so long, and she want to stay home. She want to work with him so he can go out and fight and work and do, which we need to do as a nation. So you all maybe want to get free from your man for certain reasons. See, but we are not like that. See,
I want the whole world to snap out of it.
He's saying that you got two different problems. But they're not hearing it. It doesn't matter what he says. Whatever he says, they undermine it. The whole time they undermine what he says. And some of the stuff he is shuffling, I ain't gonna lie. But let's a little bit more, then we're gonna move on.
It's not freedom from a man. It's just that women have rights just as men do. They're human beings. They have just as good minds, just as many ambitions.
What are you saying women should do?
I think there should be a lady president. We know where the tapes were.
Now they're over there complaining about tapes. If there was, what tapes are they talking about? Were there some tapes going on back then too? Isn't it coincidence they talking about what the tapes were back then, but we got the Epstein files that's going on now? Like the timing and the complete like identical looking at both of them. Whatever tapes they were talking about, I guess this is the Reagan era. And now we got Trump with these Epstein files. It's crazy, but let's finish this up.
Yes, doctor. And you know where they'd be? She'd probably find them in her purse.
That's right. What did Muhammad, Marshall, you were saying he had something terrific going on in the green
Well,
room.
you were making some marvelous plays on words. You were actually being a women's liberationist back in the dressing room, and now you're different on camera. You were saying that all these words like it's a hysterectomy when a woman has to go into the hospital for an
I was talking about, I heard a fella saying something.
Now, as you look at the panel, man, you can clearly tell everybody is against him. She, him, all these people are against him. You can tell they all have this woman equality mindset. These two are betas. You can already see this. You already know how they get down. But everybody on this panel is on some socialist equality stuff. That's how they see things. And listen to this man talk. I'm gonna let him speak for a second.
You know, wherever I've gone, and Marcia has too, we find that both men and women are really responding to what we're talking about. That both men and women should stop playing this kind of game of supporting a false kind of femininity and a false kind of masculinity. Right. Let men be men, and let them be more tender and cultured. Let women be women, let them be stronger and more aggressive. And these qualities that we've said that the male has, he's strong, he's active, he's competitive, he's aggressive. A woman is not that. If she is that, she's unfeminine. This has to go.
Just as women.
Literally today's society. Right? Lock, barrel, and sinker. So literally this has been going on since the 70s, 60s, or whatever. Lock, barrel, and single. So they got it. They got it set up. This has been going on for that long. Okay, so you see the playbook that was established on the East, and they brought it over to the West. It's the same thing. It was two superpowers. They just went ahead and just said, okay, cool. We did one, dissolved that one. Now we're moving on to going over to this one. You know, they got their bank set up over there on that side. They're like, we need a state bank to stabilize the socialism. And that's what they did. The bank was the pinnacle of a socialist economy, socialist communist society. That's what it was. Now you came over here. Now the banks are here too. We're not going to sit here and act like the banks ain't here, but it's going to be a tighter grip, in my humble opinion. The grip's going to be tighter because now you got technology, you got digital ID, you got cryptocurrency and blockchain, and you got AI, all this stuff. So what they did over there on that side, they're like, all right, you know, and plus they have birth control this time around. So they, you know, now the women are really free. Because you see him right here, he's talking about me and Marcy and living together and stuff. Now Marcy, put Marcy today, Marcy ain't finna be nowhere near him. She gonna be out doing her own thing. She's not worried about him whatsoever. Okay, so now let's move on to the next person real quick. So let's take the timeline.
Away, Susie Chaffee.
Let's take the timeline and let's move it to the 80s. Okay, we're going to take the timeline now. We're going to move to the 80s. All right, and let's see what this gentleman says. I already showed him previously, but now we're moving from the late 60s, early 70s. Now we're moving up to, I believe this is the 80s. This looks like 80s. Let's see. Man, this is crazy. I'm trying to see. It says it was, somebody said it was recorded in 1984. So we have this guy right here. He's going to speak on from being in the KGB, and he's going to speak on America and talking about how America needs to be careful not to be taken over and not to become a socialist society. Because, you know, and he's going to speak on how the playbook is ran and how people will get locked, barrel, and stuck into it and won't know until, you know, shit hits the fan. So this is the 80s now. We went from the 70s. Let's jump to the 80s, okay? Now remember what's going on in the other side of the world while this is happening, okay? So by this time, the 70s, Stalin already ruled. I think Stalin already passed away by this time, right? I think Stalin died around this time. So now we got Stalin, Stalin already passed away. So Stalin's already passed away, but still, they've already had the revolution. They've already implemented socialism. They already took over they already took over capitalism over there in Russia, implemented USSR. So they completely changed everything, restructured everything. They implemented all that they needed to do and all that they wanted, right? So we're getting closer to the dissolve of USSR on the eastern side of the world, okay? And then we're looking at what's going on the western side of the world as they're implementing the same playbook over on the western side of the world. So let's take a look and hear what this man has to say. So here we go.
React to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, and half-baked intellectuals are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in their own eyes. All you have to do, all American...
All right, here we go. Let me start from the beginning. I actually stopped in the middle. So this is Jerry. So let's hear him from the beginning real quick, and we'll roll it up, and then we'll go.
Ideological subversion. What do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers.
So he's mentioning basically about the subversion of socialism, socialism in America, and he's saying it's blatant, it's obvious, you can see it, but like remove the bananas from your ears. Now we already seen how things were going in the 70s. Okay, he's in the 80s now. We already seen what type of time they were on in the 70s. We've already seen it. We saw it. They were already in it. They were like, men and women are equal, and like, why do we have these gender roles? And then the guy was like, men should be more soft and feminine, and women should be more strong and aggressive. They've been doing this. And it was already done previously, as we saw in the East. So now they brought it over here to the West, and it's been going on. It's been going on, and we've seen it on TV shows in the 70s and probably prior to that. We're seeing this dude speak about it in the 80s, and as it's going on in the 80s, closer to the 90s, remember, it's dissolving over there in the East. So let's let him continue. Here we go.
But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
That's where we're at. Like, people are sitting here arguing and fighting and bickering, but there's no fixing it. There's no solving it. It's forever going to be, I say forever, but it's forever going to be this way, leading up to the point where socialist comes in and go ahead and lay it to smack it down it and brings the almighty hand back and comes with this. But let's let him continue.
Great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy.
So we're already gone on that. So that part we're already gone on. because the women in the 70s proved that off right there. The women in the 70s that we saw in that last video is already over. It's already done. So that part is done. The demoralization phase is done. Plus, we can see that now. We see girls come out of college and people come out of college on straight socialist stuff. We see it. It's not hard to see. So it's clear, it's blunt, it's blatant, it's right in our face, okay? So as he goes on with that, we're going to go on and see furthermore how deep this thing really gets. He's going to go through all the other phases to see what's going on, but this has been going on. You've seen this. From the 70s to now the 80s, you see it.
At least 3 generations of American students, without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible.
Process is complete and irreversible. There's no way you can go back and fix it. It's done. It's set in stone. It's like, all right, cool. We got that set in stone. We can let them run on autopilot, regardless of what you put in their face. I don't care how much truth you give them. That strong delusion is going to be slapped across their face, and they ain't getting out of it. They are in it to they are in it to lose it, regardless of how bad it gets. They don't even know that they're losing. It's in their system. It's done for. So as you see, and he said those are people that would be put into political offices and media and all sorts of stuff. That was way back in the 60s. And then you bring them people all the way up to now, like that mindset is still on, it's still going strong. It's still happening to this day. But let's let them go a little bit longer.
To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and in favor and in the interest.
And then, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are marked for
Psychological shock when there's simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And
Did you hear what he said? He said the shock that these people are going to have. Let me verbatim. That man said the shock that they will have in the future. Like, it's a guarantee. He's like, you're going to feel this. It's not a maybe. It's not I think. He's like, you will have this feeling in the future, because he's basically saying it's already a done deal. And that was back in the 80s. They will have a shock when they actually feel what equality and socialism feels like in practice. In practice, once you feel true equality and socialism in practice, he's gonna be like, that's gonna be the oh shit moment. That's gonna be that moment. But let's let him continue. Let's let him keep going.
the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be a greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already.
The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already in the freaking 80s. It's already done in the 80s. It's already finished. She's like, they don't know what's good. It's already done. And think about what the ladies were in the 70s were saying, okay? Think about what the ladies in the 70s were saying. They were pushing for it. They were already pushing for it. They were getting it done. the ladies in the 70s or 60s, whatever year that was, they were already pushing forward, trying to make sure it got right. And not just the ladies, the men too, because the man got on there and just straight up preached them nonsense. He got up there and he was all about the feminist mindset, the socialist mindset. Now he gets on here, and this is the 80s, and he's like, yo, this it's already done, bro. Like, when this socialism hits your door front, like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna hit. And when it does, like, you finna feel the wrath. And he's speaking from a KGB perspective. KGB. Let's go ahead and make sure we have that right. Let's make sure we have this right. Abbreviated as KGB, was the main security agency of the Soviet Union from 1954 to 1991. That's what that is. All right. This dude is a former KGB agent. All right. And that's what the KGB is. KGB, I'm going to say it again, was the main security agency of the Soviet Union from 54 to 91 till it dissolved. He was a former KGB agent, and this is in the 80s, so it hadn't dissolved yet. And he's telling you, like, yo, when this hit the fan, bruh, you finna feel that wrath. And y'all are all over here, you know, fighting for socialism and fighting for equality, but you just don't know what it's gonna feel like when they lay it to smack it down upon you. Like, you ain't gonna know you're gonna wish to go back. So let's let him continue a little bit more, then we're gonna jump to the 90s. Here we go.
For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans.
Most of it is done by Americans to Americans. And he said, whoever he was talking about, he said he wouldn't have dreamed of such a good success. Like, the turnout was way better than he imagined. Good God. So it's lock, stone, and barrel over here. It's done. It's finished. It's complete. It's a wrap. It's finna happen. I'm just wanting to connect the dots to get you to understand. To see that the plan that they did over there in the East is now implemented in lock, stone, and barrel in the West. Now, I'm going to let him talk a little bit more, then we're going to go to the 90s.
Thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
Oh my God. Did you hear what he said? That's the tragic of demoralization. They're not going to know until you physically get assaulted. When you actually feel one of these across your face, this is when you're going to know it's real. That's when they're going to be like, oh crap, we're in socialism. This is communism. This is what we were hoping for. We read about this in our colleges. Why is this not the same as what I learned in college? Why is this going to be brutal? He's like, it's already happening, bruh. And you have to change it from capitalist to socialist, and that change is what I'm telling you about. Is the Bolsheviks revolution, is the Ukrainian Holodomor, whatever you want to call it, if I said it correctly. Those violent situations that happened that had to change the society from capitalist to socialist, that change and reform everything and get rid of all the old mindsets and all the old thinking. So now we move forward, and then we progress forward to 1990s. Well, actually, I take that back. This might be the 2000s, but what she's going to read has something to do with the 90s. So this is the 2000s, okay? I don't know what 2000s, but you're going to look and be able to kind of come to your own conclusion. This is 2000s and something. Let me see if I can find out what 2000s we're in. It doesn't say it. It says this is uploaded 9 years ago, but this doesn't mean that this was that recent. But anyway, Listen to what this lady's going to say, okay? So remember, USSR dissolved in 1991. We had the ladies in the 70s talk about it, fighting for equality and all that stuff. We had the Yuri, KGB former agent in the 80s say, yo, it's already done. Like, it's already finished. Like, ain't nothing we got to do anymore. Everybody's, these people are demoralized. You can't tell them the truth. If you show them the truth in their face, it's done. It's finished. It's a rap ski. It's coming. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Cool. So now we move and listen what this lady's finna say. Once we learned that in 91, USSR was dissolved, listen to what she's about to bring to the table. Here we go.
I am holding in my hand the Muslim Brotherhood plan for the destruction of the United States, written 5/22/1991.
1991. The Brotherhood plan for destruction of United States in 1991. USSR dissolved in 1991. They were already putting a plan together, as we seen the ladies in the 70s and the 80s, and where we're talking. So it was already in devise. It was already put in a plan. It was already put in action. So now you got the Muslim Brotherhood plan in America right now. Now, let's let her talk a little bit more, and then we're going to go deeper into this. So let's go. Here we go.
The title of the plan is مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام للجماعة في أمريكا الشمالية. You all got that? There will be a quiz. It is titled the Muslim Brotherhood, an explanatory memorandum for the general strategic goal for the group, the Muslim Brotherhood in North America, written 5/22/1991. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism trial ever in the history of the United States, where our government handed down, hello, my best friend, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts for Muslim Americans and Muslim American organizations raising money to support terrorist organizations in the Middle East to the tune of millions. And I'm just going to read you a paragraph of this plan, so it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about.
Now, just to give you a little backstory on what she's talking about, that trial that she's talking about, that was in, if I'm not mistaken, between the years of 2004 and 2008. That trial that she's speaking on, that was in between the years of 2004 and 2008, I'm pretty sure. Now, they didn't find this brotherhood doctrine that was written back in 1991 until 2004 or 2008. They didn't find it until 2004 or 2008. That's when they found this document. So by this time, this document is what? 15 years old? 15, 20 years old? 15 years old, we'll go ahead and say. So they were able to stay on code that entire time. So in 15 years, remember what the last dude said you could get done in 15 years. And in the 80s, he said demoralization was already finished. All these different things were already complete. So what do you think they were doing in those 15 years by the time they got caught with this document that was 15 years old, what they got completed and finished already? Let her tell you. Here we go.
They talk about the settlement in the United States. Understanding the role of the Muslim Brother in North America. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Is this clear?
Sounds pretty clear to me. I mean, yeah. Basically, they want to make sure everything is on top and their religion is on top of all other religions. Now, remember the past situation in the East, it looked like the Russians were doing everything, but behind the scenes, somebody else was. Now, we have Islam on the scene in front of everything. They're in the front doing everything. And What do I mean by that? Well, let's just take a look. Let's just take a look at Islam. Let's look at Islam and see what they're out here doing. Let's get a good look at Islam. Here we go. Let's take a look at Islam and see what they're doing on the forefront. And this is current day time right here. We're gonna let this gentleman here speak on what he sees out here going on. And this is, I think he's talking about Texas. So let's let him speak.
Gentlemen, I give you Texas. So somewhere along the way, Texas became an Islamic sanctuary state, and now you see them chanting and cheering in the street. Now, you want to say that you don't like being exposed to ideologies or religions or politics that you don't agree with. Well, I don't think any of us do. Yet in the streets of Texas, this is what I'm being exposed to. You have a choice to believe in whatever religion you want to believe in, unless you live in a Muslim-led country. Then you will be forced to believe in a state-sponsored religion. This in and of itself, which by the way is part of their law and justice system, is completely contrary to what we believe in when we say we're Americans that trust in the Constitution of the United States. But especially as Texans, folks, let me just tell you, Texas ain't the Texas that most Texans think it is anymore. And I think this video proves it. Ooh, what are you going to do with politics that you don't agree with?
So basically what he just said, he clarified what this woman said. He clarified clearly what she just said right here. She made this statement on what she said about these people, basically making sure that their God is the one and only true God. And she was clear on that. Check it out.
In the hands of, and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions.
It is made victorious, and their God is victorious over all other religions. That right there, and
communism.
Whoops, that guy made it very clear when he stated that. He made it very clear when he stated that.
Communism.
Oh, come on. Why the hell I keep pulling up the same video? Oh, that's because I'm not looking at the right thing. So yeah, he made that very clear whenever he stated that. He showed that. He showed that. And that's a part of their religion and what they do. And it's a part of their Muslim Brotherhood plan since 1991, okay? So it dissolved. The USSR dissolved in 91. Now over here, the takeover is going on imminent. And if you don't think the takeover is really happening, let's take a look at what's going on in New York. See, now in New York, the don't mess with the Zohan, he became governor, or mayor of New York. Now, what we see here, I don't know how old this is, but we're going to see a NYPD police officer showing people how to properly put on a hijab. Let's go ahead and run the video. Check it out.
So, ideally, you just, because there's different ways, by the way. You can fit it how you want to, but you could make one side short, one side long, right? And then you put it over and over on your face. And some ladies get creative. You can put a pin. I freestyle everything I do, as you can see. And then I just tuck it in right here. And you wrap it around to your quarters and make sure your bosom is covered. There's different ways, but this is the most simple way that you can wear it. You're welcome.
I don't have to go into much further than this. As you can clearly see, the plan is already in full effect. It's implemented, bruh. It's in there. The plan is in full effect. There's nothing you can do to stop it. The machine is rolling. It's doing what it's supposed to do. And I'm just connecting dots and just showing you that this is what it is. And I believe that the USSR was the blueprint, was the playbook into bringing it over here in the East. I mean, in the West. Because you can look at what they did on that side and then identically look at over here, and it's like shit. Like they're running the same playbook, and they've been doing it for 100 years. Like they've been doing it for 100 years. 100 years, maybe 75. I'm in the shave 25 years off, but they're gonna keep going. They're gonna keep going. And as they do this, as they move towards socialism, as they move towards communism, women gain rights, LGBT communities gain rights, all these people gain their rights, and it gets them closer to their agenda and their gain, just the same way they did over in USSR. It's the same thing. It's nothing different. It's nothing different. Now, we have this guy here, as we all remember. He was onto something, and he was seeing this, but I just don't think he saw the big picture before he got eliminated. Let's take a look at him and let him speak on this right here. Charlie Kirk, here we go.
The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not. There are three major reasons why. Islam does not believe in freedom of speech. Islam does not believe in freedom of religion. And Islam does not believe in separation of mosque and state. Those three things are antithetical to the West. In a Muslim majority country, most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. In most Muslim majority countries, you do not have the same robust freedom of religion protections. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded to actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam. And the last thing I'll finally say is...
Now, as you see, he was connecting dots. He was putting it together, but I just don't think he saw the big picture. I don't think he caught the grand scheme of it. He had an idea. I just don't think he saw the whole thing. Because if you look at it and you put it together, this is kind of what I think he was missing. He was getting close, but he just didn't knock it out the park all the way. Okay? He didn't knock it out he was getting fairly close. But let me just show you real quick right here what exactly what I mean. All right, so you have this right here. All right, when you have this right here. Let me pull it up. Boom. Okay, so you have Islamic and Newish relations. All right? Pretty clear. All right? You have these two right here. It says the religious ties between Muslims and Newish have existed since the founding of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. Muhammad's views on youths were shaped by his extension's contact with the Jewish tribes of Arabia during his lifetime. Islam shares similar views, guidelines, and principles with the Newish, and also incorporates Newish histories as part of its own. Muslims regard the Israelites, to whom the Jews and Samaritans trace their ethnic ancestry, as important religious concepts. They are referenced around 43 times in the Quran, excluding individual prophets in many accounts of hadith. Similarly, the Moses and most important Jewish prophets is also regarded by Muslims as Islamic prophets and messengers, and his name is mentioned in the Quran 136 times, more than any other individual, and his life is narrated and recounted more than any of that. So as you can see, these two have a lot in common. All right? They have a lot in common. And it says right here, later, it says the rabbinic authorities and the Jewish scholars, such as, I don't know what that word is, engage in discussions concerning the relationships between Islam and the Jewish religious laws. And this guy, whatever his name is, it has been argued was influenced by Islamic legal thought while living in the caliphates of his time. Okay? So what I'm seeing is he's not putting together is he didn't put together the bigger picture. There's a bigger picture than what he wasn't seeing, because that's the forefront. That's the distraction. That's the blinder. It's deeper than that. You know what I mean? It gets deeper than that, and it gets more serious than that, and you can't ignore it. You know, what you see on the forefront versus what's behind it. And again, it's all religion. It's all, but whenever you look at the religion, it is clearly the forefront and the pinnacle of everything. Now, let me take it another step further. All right. We'll take it to this right here. All right. So you have this right here. You have Judaism. All right. So Judaism is what it is. Arabic monotheistic ethnic religious group or compromises of a collectual, spiritual, cultural, legal traditions of Jewish. Religious Jews regard Judaism as their means of observing the Mosaic covenant, which they believe was established between God and the Jewish people. The religion is considered one of the earliest monotheistic gods. Now, here is something I found highly interesting. Okay, now watch this. Pay attention. Pay attention close. It's not hard to see. Right here, we're going to go over, we're going to go down. Down, 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 down. And then you have right, where you at? Where you at? No. Right here. Right here. Look at that right there. Separated from Yahwism. What is Yahwism? How are you separated from Yahwism? How is this separated from Yahwism? What is Yahwism? Also known as the Israelite religion. It was known as the Israelite religion. Interesting. So then how are you separated from Yahwism if this was known as the Israelite religion? Why would you be separated from Yah? Interesting. I don't know. That's just me looking at stuff like this. So when you look at all this and you see how all of this plays out, it's playing out the way it's supposed to. The playbook is running smoothly. The playbook is running smooth. There's nothing wrong. Like, it's going the way it's supposed to. It's doing exactly what it should do. And you can see the timeline and you can look at it and you can just put everything together and piece everything together like a puzzle piece. It's just what it is, you know. And I'm not knocking anybody for anything. I'm not saying anything bad about the Jews. I'm not saying anything bad about Islam. I'm not saying anything bad about nobody's religion. What I am saying is that you can see it. You can see, like, hey, it's coming. It's here. You know, like, it's here. You know, socialism. You know, they want you to believe in one God. They want you to believe in only one. The hand of Revelations 13 is upon you. You know what I mean? Like, it's here. Like, this is where we're headed. We're headed right here, in case you don't get it. This is where we're headed. Revelations 13. All right? The second beast was given the power to give breath and image to that of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be unalive. Now, ask yourself this question, okay? When you read this, okay? When you read this, the second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast. You can take, because Larry Ellison said this. Larry Ellison is the guy who is the owner of Oracle, that huge data company, right? He said this. He said, you want to take all the information from all the data systems in the world and put them in one data center. Put them in one data center. He said this. I already spoke about this on a previous live stream. He said, you want to get all the information. He was at the World Economic Forum. All the information from all the data centers and put them in one. He said, this already happened. Put them in one database. And then what you want to do is, when you get all of the public data, all of your citizen data, all that data, and you put it into one database, so when you see all this AI and all these cars and all this information, all that data, put it into one database, and then you get an AI to be the reasoning of all that data. Then you can think, AI can have any image you want to give it, and then you can give that image a voice. So now we read this again. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that that image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship image to be unalive. It also forced people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand, so that you cannot buy or sell unless you had the mark. Like, you can put all this together. You can see it. You can look over there at London and see what they going through. They getting a digital ID. You can go back in history and see how they were forcibly turning things over in the Bolshevik Revolution and turned it into USSR and see how bad that looked. You can look at things in the West and see how things have exponentially gotten worse over time. And you can see that the direction that we're headed in, there's no way of stopping it because it was written. It was a written plan. You know, and people want to fight back and say all that stuff, but I mean, you can fight, but the fight that you're thinking about is not the same. You want to fight, but here's the fight right here. The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opens its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name in dwelling places for those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And it was given authority over every tribe, people, and language and nation. All inhabitants on the earth will worship the beast, all whose name have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, and the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world. Whoever have ears to hear, let him hear. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone has to be unalive, they will with the sword, and with the sword they will be unalive. This calls for patience, endurance, and faithfulness on the part of God's people. It's gonna happen. I'm just here to connect the dots. That's all I want to do. I just want to connect the dots to show you in case you weren't aware. You can see it. It's clear as day. You can't like not see it. It's like in your face. They're not hiding it. I mean, they may keep you busy as hell. They might put the economy in a very shitty situation to stress you out, to keep you looking down like this, to where you just never for once look up and be like, the hell is going on? Like it's right in it's in front of your face, bro. It ain't hard to see. And again, like I said, I'm not being negative towards nobody. I'm just saying what it is. This is my opinion on how I see it. So what I tell you to do is to stay stay focused, put your head down, grind, stay focused on your purpose, grind. Just get rid of all the lusting and fornication and all that stuff. Put women on the back burner, far back burner, because they ain't going nowhere. Women are always going to be there. Women are going to be the spoils of whatever war that happens. They always are, and they always will be, regardless of what they think. What do you think the socialists was doing with the women when they had women? You think they were just like, oh, treat them equally? No, they was clapping cheeks too. Focus, keep your head down, grind. Do what you got to do. Take care of yourself. Do the work internally. That's the work you should be focused on. Get as much money as you possibly can. Grind, stay focused. Educate yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your mind. Make sure your heart isn't stressed out of anxiety and fear. That's where your word and your scripture comes in, whatever you choose to read. Be well rooted and keep your attachment to God at all times, because that's where the war is at. That's where the war is being had. And stay focused. Money plays a big part in this situation as well, because it's hard to think when your stomach is rumbling. Try to make sure that everything that you do, you have a purpose driven behind you, because AI is going to come and try to remove that purpose. You have to develop your own purpose, your own sense of making money, your own sense of living, your own sense of having existence. You have to. That's why I say stay focused. Put your head down, grind, don't look up. Don't worry about it. Just stay focused, stay faithful, keep grinding. Because like Yuri said, the KGB agent, the demoralization period is done. You cannot save these people even if you show them the truth right to their face. They not gonna see it. So it's not up to you to save anyone, but what you can do is this right here. Where is it at? Whoever, right here. Whoever has ears, let them hear. That's about all you can do. That's about all you can do. Whoever has ears, let them hear. That's it. If you save one, that's about, hey, at least you saved one. That's really what you tried to aim for. Talk to one and save one. And whoever has ears to let them hear, then maybe you'll save more than one. But focus, put your head down. This shit isn't hidden. It's not hidden. It's not rocket science. So when I put all of this together, and if you want to get the full montage, go look at the first one that I did on Wednesday and then look at this one today. They actually go together. I just had a whole lot of kerfuffle go in between that was messing me up. When you see it all put together, it's not hard to see. Just stay focused and do what you got to do. Keep your head down. Take care of you and yours and your own. Make sure you take care of you first before you can take care of everybody else. But it's a system. It's just going by design. It's doing what it does. Even Jesus came on this earth. He came into the system. The system did him by design. Yes, he was fulfilling a prophecy. But a part of that prophecy, the system unfortunately beat the hell out of him. Even though that was part of the prophecy, it still did what it did. The system still did what it was supposed to do. You understand? So it is what it is. So you either understand it or you don't. Hopefully I put it together for you so you can understand. Thank you, Stream Hub. I appreciate the smile. But with that being said, man, hopefully this is a good stream for you today. Because this took like hell for me to get this done, man. Like I said, my whole monitor went out last time. I tried to do this stream and my monitor went out yesterday. Then it screwed up again today. I had to do a software update in the middle of the stream. I had to cut the stream back on, do this again. So it was a hell of a lot to get this put out there. So I finally got it done. I feel like I did it justice today. Maybe not as deep as I want to go, but I think I got the point across for somebody to be able to put this together and look at this and see it. So to get the beginning, go watch part 1. It's not labeled part 1. You'll see you'll see 1, you'll see part 2 and part 3. Do the one that doesn't have a part to it, because that would be considered part 1. And then look at this one, part 3. So look at part 1 and part 3. You can put it together to get the whole story, to understand how this thing goes. Okay? With that being said, I got to get up out of here, man. Thank y'all for tuning in to another DLA Fitness live stream show, man. Hopefully I'll see y'all soon. And we will be back in here on Monday. We'll drop some shorts over the weekend to kind of recap some of the stuff we learned about this week. But we'll be back here on Monday to keep this thing rocking and rolling, since we got a new monitor, a new screen to keep this thing going, because, you know, God got your boy. With that being said, thank y'all so much. Take care. I love y'all. We'll catch y'all later. We out of here. Peace.
Thank you for watching D. Elliott Fitness live stream. Goodbye.
Then by the dream, the game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. Don't wait no nigga in the booth, playing beats. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. Don't wait no nigga in the booth, playing beats. Count cash and smoke green, can me blow a cloud like a smoke machine. She got no to sing. Bumblebee ass, yeah, I know it's thing. I plug your bitch like a 6-string. Jordan with the bitches got 6 rings. Smoke till my bitch a split screen. The press with pain pills and sipping lane. Riding dirty, but I'm extra clean. Lyrics nice, but I'm extra mean. All-star heavyweight like Overeem. The bitch nice like she over me. I flip money like Clover G. Gang hustle like CIP. It's hard baby like DIG. Acronym like KRT. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on